So, Akanksha, we take a 15-second break, so it's easy for you to. Good afternoon and welcome to the Thought Leader Series 4. We are happy to have very distinguished panelists here with us today. And the topic that we are going to discuss today is of a lot of interest to the restaurant business. We are going to talk about how important it is to have right vendors, and can they really help you in building a successful F&B brand. Very close to heart, very operations oriented, and very hardcore. So first of all, let me introduce the people that we have here today with us. I have with us here Mr. Varun Bahel. Varun passed out of IHM Mumbai in 2003, joined the Marriott Group in Bombay straight from college, and then he moved to Marriott in Thailand at Phuket in 2008. From there, he moved to a different coast, which is a place called Khao Lak, JW Marriott Khao Lak, as the director F&B, and worked with them till 2014. Post that, Varun decided to become an entrepreneur, I guess, came back to Jaipur, and he started his own brands, not brand, but I will say brands. He is currently the managing director of KCCO India Private Limited, and they operate brands such as Kebabs and Curries Company, K Fine Catering, Thali and more. So Biryani by KCCO and Rolls by KCCO. If I pronounced anything wrong, Varun, please do help correct us.
Welcome. To go. Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Amit Sharma with us. Amit is the business head for Chuk Compostables. I think to the F&B retail, Chuk is a byword today. That really does not need an introduction. However, Amit completed his MBA in 2004 from Symbiosis, worked across multiple industries, Abhishek Industries, Moser Bear, and then 2014 onwards, he got hands-on involved with the food business. He is co-founder of a couple of brands, Country Curries, Mr. Wong, and Role Play. And then in 2019, he joined Chuk as the national sales head. The far more famous name is Chuk. The lesser known name is Yash Compostables. Right, Amit?
That's correct. So we go by Chuk.
Yes, absolutely. And then shortly he became the business unit head. So welcome, Amit. It's great to have you here. Thank you for taking time out.
Thank you.
And then let me introduce Kushang. Kushang is the co-founder and CEO at Supply Note. Kushang completed his bachelor's and an MBA from IIT Kanpur in 2015. I think he had made up his mind by the time he was passing out that he's not going to work, because he immediately launched his company called At Your Cup, successfully running it till date. And At Your Cup was basically a supply chain solution. And then Kushang decided that he needs to go that one step further and make life far more comfortable for F&B retail. And in 2019, he launched another company called Supply Note. Supply Note aims to be an end-to-end solution provider, not just a supply chain solution. So welcome, Kushang, and thank you all three of you for taking out time and sharing. I'm sure you're going to share some very wonderful insights with our people, with our viewers.
Thanks, Ajay.
So just to give you a small introduction, as the economy unlocks, there is an opportunity for strong brands to start their growth story again. We have seen that it's happening, albeit slowly, city to city, there's a difference. And this is the stage where controlling your cost can make all the difference between a profitable growth or a cash burn led growth, which unfortunately was quite a big fashion till a year ago. You know, you're growing, but I have a cash burn. I was surprised in fact, it had become fashionable to say that, oh, how can I have growth without a cash burn? Which is not good business sense. So cost typically is in 4 or 5 large buckets in the F&B retail: labor, purchasing, rental, marketing, and some other stuff such as admin, utility, etc. While there is a certain amount of discretion in all the buckets, however, the scope of control and reduction is very limited. You take a property at X rental, you're there. I mean, you really can't go back from it. However, one important factor in cost is COGS, cost of goods sold. This is a recurring monthly, fully variable area where one can exercise control, experience and knowledge, use your experience and knowledge to manage the business well. And I think that the best way to manage COGS is when you have strong vendors as your channel partners. So first of all, Amit, being a channel partner, being a person who supplies across verticals, across various types of F&B retail, let me ask him. So Amit, what do you think? Does it matter what vendors do you have, or is it just an open market scenario to be played by the finance department, which unfortunately in a lot of cases does happen?
See, that's a fact you can't ignore. A lot of finance managers or finance guys make the decisions, but that's also a reality that they end up losing a lot more in terms of the vendors than anything else. See, what happens is when a finance guy is looking at it or a purchasing guy is looking at it, he's not looking at what is the brand alignment, what is the purpose of the brand. That cannot, they are not in time, because they're, we all look at what is my budget. So when they
Right.
start looking at that point of view, I will not want to purchase anything which is, more expensive than a particular price point. Whereas for the most important aspect for any brand has to be what the consumer experience is all about. You might be looking to reduce a cost, but if it ends up reducing your consumer experience, which they have, brought up, then it is going to change. Now, if you look at, what if, you start looking at Coke bottles and they start to make it as thin as possible, and it becomes crumpy and you can't even hold it properly. So it's not the bottle manufacturers. The finance guy has reduced the cost, but the brand has also, gone out of the window. So that's the most important part, is when you look at only as a purchase. I'm not saying that it is not important that you go and buy the most expensive product. It may also not solve your purpose.
Okay.
But the alignment of the consumer experience, the brand promise, and the COGS has to all come in one go. So if you look at only a purchase-led organizations, wherein purchase becomes the most important part, it does not make a difference. That's the basic challenge if you look at only a purchase.
So Varun, sorry, please continue with.
So if somebody comes to us, Chuk is known as a perception that we are the most expensive service provider or the product provider. Although that is not the case. We are not the most expensive ones, but we are the most efficient ones. Our service quality, our product lines, everything what we do is certain to a brand promise which we do. That is it. The product will perform every time. See, when you go to a QSR, the average time to consume your food is about 20 minutes to 30 minutes. Whereas if you look at only a cost reduction on the bagasse front, wherein we deal with, there are a lot of people who supply products which will last only for a 10-minute window. The consumer experience is not there. So if you look at that, these are both bagasse and both have to be the same, and cost becomes the element, then your consumer experience has gone out of the window. Nobody goes to a Haldiram and gets out in 10 minutes and after having their food with the entire family. That's one of the reasons Haldiram stays with us, is because they know their product performance is the most important aspect for them. So the consumer experience becomes the central point of their theme.
So we'll come back. We'll come back to this, Amit. I want to first ask Varun. Varun, you are the hands-on user. You have had the benefit of working with a very, very large corporate. I mean, Marriott is a by name in the hotel business, and I'm sure you would have faced this challenge as a F&B director, where a lot of stuff may have got driven by the finance guy, and then and now when you run your own business, of course.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. So what do you think? I mean, what should happen with vendors? Is it just an open market scenario, price A versus price B, or do you really push back now saying, no, this is the quality I want? Or is this how you design your business? That I'll use an expensive product, but I need it.
Well, Ajay, if we talk about my days in Marriott, I would say that I was always fighting with the finance guys to get the best vendor in who gives us the right quality and the design.
Okay.
If I talk about someone who's running my own business now with my team, I'll say vendors and suppliers are even more integral part of our business. Recently, I was talking to one of our big caterers in Delhi, and he was like, the only thing I keep in my hands is the purchasing for my group. That's all what I do. That's what he told me. He said, I do not look into finance. I do not look into, of course, we all look into operations, this and that. But
Of
he said
course.
the major chunk that I control is purchasing, because I want to make sure that I get the best quality. Like Amit very rightly said, I completely agree to him. Get that right brand voice or the right customer experience that the brand promises every time. So I would say suppliers are a very, very important part of what we do. And yeah, it cannot be an open market only. We have to really stick to our best performers, like we do with our team members. I think suppliers are also equally important. So
Okay. Shang, what's been your experience? You, as while you've been running at your cup, you've been a conduit between vendors and the retail. So, what has been your experience? I mean, how does the retail describe good or bad vendors? Just by the rate, just by the credit period, or is retail sometimes, at least intelligent retail, willing to take a hit? I'm using the word hit because it is finally a cost.
Yeah. So I think the whole concept of account technologies begun with supplying packaging, and we chose the managed marketplace model where we were the suppliers and we were sourcing it from multiple people like Chuk, Ecoware, and a lot of them. Ranging from wooden to maybe plastic and all kind of packaging material initially. So to my surprise. Back in the days 15 16, people were very apprehensive on the cost side, right? They wanted to have packaging so that the delivery takeaways can happen, but then they don't want to increase their food cost. I mean, like, I'm
Okay.
talking about the general brand, right? I mean, like the 80% of the brands which are out there in the market, they are cost conscious, right? And a lot of that goes to the fact that financial managers are taking control, right? Their KPIs and KRAs are ultimately the bottom line, right? So that's absolutely the case. But then there has been acceptance over the past 5 years of quality to a very, very drastic level, because even COVID has actually taught us that ultimately what remains is the brand, the experience which the customer had while having food, and how he had it. So this plays a very, very crucial role. Now, coming back to the question, I think more than pricing, consistency matters a lot. So I still remember my first customer, teapot. I think they were struggling with their paper cups. I think they got their cups printed back in 2015. And Robin, the founder of that company, told me that I don't know what the GSM of this paper is, right? I just need the cups, right? So that's the level of understanding about this. And then we went to a lot of people in Sadar, in a lot of XYZ packaging solutions, and what we understood was that people are just cheating in the name of 185 GSM, ITC paper. These are like standard words being used by everyone, right? And when we were buying also, as an aggregator, we were seeing inconsistency in supplies. In Delhi, there is Southern market. You are well aware of it, and I think every one of us is.
Right.
There, any retailer or a wholesaler doesn't give you 100 cups when they're selling 100 cups. They're giving you 90 cups, 95 cups, in best cases 98. So you're lucky you might get 110 also. So it's on the both side, right? So this is the inconsistency which every restaurant struggles with as well. It brings that additional cost of management. You have to count every cup because now that's linked with the number of servings you are doing. So consistency is very, very important along with quality.
Okay.
Then things like turnaround times are very important. Promises are being made that supply will reach you in 48 hours. It will reach you in 72 hours. Never reaches in 5 days, right? So those being the challenges in the market back in the days, it has improved. A lot of things are getting better because now vendors are using technology. They are understanding the value. They are trying to get synced with the systems. which their customers are using. So I see, these being one of the key metrics. And it's not that they want to do it intentionally. I mean, like, there is a process problem overall. The whole management of this purchase has been happening offline, right? That leads to inefficiencies. I mean, like, we tracked about 100,000 data points are literally lost every year in one restaurant's purchase.
So fair enough, Kushang. Let's come back to that. That's one of the questions I definitely have for an understanding for everybody. Varun, first of all, I want to ask you, you see, food cost, the famous food cost in the food business, that is something which I never talk much about because it depends totally on what segment you're catering to, what is the kind of raw material you want to use. But the other parts of it, what I call COGS in my language is cost of goods sold, which means food plus the rest. How do you find that? I mean, as more F&B retail outlets spring up, does the packaging, the table serviceware, their accessories, how much does it help to differentiate from other brands? You are into QSR and casual dining both, Varun?
Yes, both. Ajay, are you with me? Can you hear me? Hello?
I guess there seems to be a problem at his end.
It's
Is it okay,
We
Kushal?
can hear you.
Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
he's back.
Okay. Sorry. Ajay, to answer your question, I think it certainly has a huge impact if we have differentiated tableware, crockery, packaging, and see, if you want to run a restaurant, which is just a restaurant, it may just be fine to offer whatever you feel is right. But if you like to create a legacy or create a brand out of what you're doing in terms of food business, I think every detail matters immensely. So I would say if we recently invested a lot of money in changing our packaging, and maybe after the call, I'll get in touch with Amit as well to see if he can, hot gravies can get packed, like the butter chicken or the paneer butter masala can get packed in non-plastic stuff and can go to our customers, because yes, it'll cost us more than that little plastic container that we use right now. But I think if we can, on our bags, put in there under our name that we are 100% plastic free, I believe that sends a very strong message. Yes, it does add a cost, but we're just creating something bigger than a normal restaurant or something.
But I'll ask you a little, what shall I say? I won't call it a nasty question.
Tricky question.
Finally,
yes.
See, I've been a hands-on operator for a lot of my career. You know what happens in the QSR business? The margins are always so slim. They are always so slim. You wonder whether there is a margin or not. So anything that you add in terms of packaging, it's always a very personal decision of the CEO, the owner, that is he willing to give way that way for thin margin for the added on accessories, packaging. And when I say packaging, it's the quality of cutlery you want to use, whether you want to provide, don't want to provide. How do you look at that as a hands-on, operator now?
See, a long time ago,
how tough is it to take that decision?
It is certainly a very tough decision. Otherwise, I would have already been in touch with Amit long ago, or to get those, and would have implemented
Amit, pointer for you.
So it does. I was just about, we have hired a new operations head who has worked with me before, and I was talking to him yesterday that, can we really go plastic free for our packaging, which would be great. But yes, it is a huge cost decision. So yes, it's a very close to heart thing, because cost rises tremendously. But having said that, my brother says it, who runs the business with me. He's like, what goes to the bank is cash, or what goes to the bank is your top line. Of course, bottom line matters and matters the most, profit year on year, profit growth year on year, etc. But he's like, "Aap cost ka kya karoge agar revenue nahi hoga?" What I'm trying to get to is,
brilliantly said. Yes.
What I'm trying to get to is that if it can add value to the experience of a customer, be it the quality of the butter that is put in butter chicken, or it is the lovely packet that arrives home, if it's adding to the experience and it is making things better for the customer, I'm sure the business is going to come back to us, which will hopefully take care of the cost. And as I said, we may just create something that is a legacy or very long lasting. So It's a tough decision, but I think we can get somewhere.
What your brother said reminded me of an incident in my career. I was vice president with some organization, and we were having this forever fight between the finance and ops. And I, in a meeting with, I think, 3 or 4 HOD sitting, I said, I have a brilliant way we can bring down the food cost. So everyone said, yeah, let's hear them. I said, we will bring it down to 0. Let's shut the outlets down. So everyone was like, okay. So it's exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, you can bring the food cost down to 0. Let's shut business. But unless you have business, why are you there? So Amit, coming now the ball in your court, why are all these stuff so much more expensive than plastic? Why is this stuff so much more expensive?
See, we are not expensive, and that's a perception.
That's amazing now.
So how do you define what is expensive? That's the point. Are you comparing it to what product or whatever product you are trying to compare it with, and the experience it brings in? That defines, the cost. I don't think so. The cost is really a matter, because on a per dish basis.
Today, the shift in the Indian consumer mind or the Indian retailer is from plastic to bagasse or packaging. Oh, sorry, paper.
So that's what I'm saying. So plastic to bagasse, let's say, even if I'm comparing a plate to plate,
right,
the cost difference is not more than 2 rupees. The dish which is not more than 2 rupees. Okay. And I'm saying on the higher side, not on the lower side. So the dish which you are serving. So for example, let's say a 3-compartment meal tray which you serve, you're selling. The average price of that is about 100 rupees selling price in most of the decent restaurants which are trying to change.
Yeah. Actually, it should be more than that, honestly.
I am saying
should be.
Sasta, 100 rupees mein milega. So 100 rupees is something which is normal. So you're actually looking at only about, and the plastic one, the good ones, from brands like Oracle and all, are also about 4 to 5 rupees. And the bagasse you will get it for about, with the lidding, sealing solutions and everything, you will get it about 6.5 rupees. So we're talking about only 1.5 rupees per dish.
Right.
So my point is, if now with the model, with most of the consumers ordering online and paying online, पहले होता था कि यार वो 2 रुपए खुले नहीं है, and the customers were cheesy about it, I'm not getting the change back. That concept is going away. I think a huge amount of customers are now paying online because of their comfort with apps like that, contactless delivery and all. So even if you increase that price in an online module by about 2 to 5 rupees, I don't think so the sale is going to go down. And that's my experience also, that the sales will not go down just because you have added a green packaging solution which actually helps the Mother Earth. The problem I have seen with most of the brands I have talked about, they look at increasing at 15 to 20 rupees per dish in the name of green packaging, which is not really the case.
You are saying that they want to take that difference back to their bottom line?
Yes, of course. So that's not the point. Then the pinch starts hitting the customer saying, "Acha, ye bahut mehenga ho gaya." And that's how a lot of perception is getting made. It is more. So I am part of a lot of food groups, and the discussion keeps on happening. And this is a discussion which I ask every, home chefs as well as brands. What is the difference? How much is the cost difference? Is what you are looking at. If you're saying that for moving on to the shipment, yes, you can't expect a 2 to 3% increase on the total food selling price. Then the solutions are going to be very, very tricky. The costs are coming down, there is no doubt. You're paying an 18% on plastic, you're paying a 12% on bagasse. So that's a 6% cost differential, which is not seen because most of the people are looking at only the base prices and not on the total outgo. For a restaurant, the GST doesn't come
retail. For F&B retail, Amit, the total outgo makes a lot of difference because they're not allowed set off.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But a lot of people, when they look at a price between plastic versus bagasse, they look at the base prices. So only a handful understand really कि यार वो 18% versus the 12% is also a factor. But the second most important, what Varun was actually pointing out, the experience which it adds and the comfort which the consumer is getting and the marketing blitz which you can do, it will always increase in volumes. I'll give you an example. If you've heard about Corner House in Bangalore,
yes,
they bought 10 outlets. It's an ice cream parlor. They used to serve a lot of food in plastics.
Modeled on Nerulas, including the flavors.
Yes, but Death by Chocolate was actually introduced in India by them.
Death by Chocolate, yes. The other
Ah,
flavors are all modeled on Nirolas.
modern Nirlas. So I was speaking to once, Mr. Rao, the founder. He
I know
actually
him,
said,
yes.
so they had a challenge. A lot of customers, younger customers who had grown up on the brand, started telling them that we have stopped eating at your place simply because you are using a plastic. So
Ah,
they moved away from plastic. Wherever in the dine-in, they moved away completely from the plastic to a more dine-in solution, which they use bagasse actually and chuck only. They also started with an option that you come back with your own bowl and we'll give you a 10%, 10 rupees off on the ice cream. 90 rupees ice cream becomes 80 rupees ice cream if you bring in. He says my sales have gone up by 50%.
50%.
50% is the increase in the sales because a lot of customers who were not going to them simply because of the plastic started moving to them. It became a point of differentiation. So Varun, the point is, whether it will cover your cost or not, it will lead to a certain increase in business if it is marketed properly. So again, it comes down to the brand promise, the alignment, and everything coming together, which will basically give you the benefit of the additional cost, giving in
I,
more revenue, which will cover up for a lot more other things as well.
I agree, Amit, but this is honestly, I'm a little biased, of course, being from a ops kind of background. What does happen is that increased business is a promise of the future, and I'm playing the devil's
Agree?
advocate over here. And the real reality of life is the increased cost today.
Ajay, when you open a restaurant, it's only the promise of future that leads you to opening a restaurant. Nobody knows what is the sale is going to be on the day one. So
No,
every
no,
business is like
we
that.
make all
But
such nice fancy projections, boss.
so my point is, it's always the
On a
future which
lighter
you have to
note.
look at.
Yeah.
The value addition which is happening in terms of the product differentiation also leads to a lot. I am sure in the next 1 year you will find Zomato, Swiggy. Remember they had a hygienic kitchen and all of that markings which are showing up on your brands.
That's
You
right.
can look. I am sure in the next 1 year they'll start looking at green packaging, eco-friendly packaging, and all of that stuff. Again, so using on that trying to push on the brands on that front because I am also talking to them. I know what they're into. So it's only a matter of time when they start looking at such solutions.
Okay. So
Rebel
taking a
Foods,
step back just from green packaging, Varun, how do you find technology or in terms of your purchasing? How do you find your vendors in terms of technology understanding? Amit is not a benchmark by any standards, please. He's way he and Chuk are way above that. Okay. I'm saying your general vendors, Jaipur city, where you are based currently, apart from other cities.
Ajay, to be very honest, vendors in Jaipur city are far from technology. Or maybe a couple of out of, if you have a whole,
Yeah, we're talking about the norm as
maybe
such.
10-15% vendors would be comfortable with technology, but most of the vendors aren't. And after starting to work with the supply node, we are really hoping. I was telling my paneer supplier the other day that we're going to teach you or we're going to work with you on how Walmart does inventory, how suppliers of Walmart manage inventory for Walmart. Same way you're going to manage our paneer. You'll already know kitna paneer kal bhejna hai. So we'll train and we'll do that, which is of course it's going to happen 6 months.
Fair
1 year.
enough. Yeah, sure.
It takes a while, but technology is a concern. But I believe if it is put right, we can go a long way.
To me, after so many years around, what I felt is that lack of technology actually becomes a cost to us as the operators.
Yes.
Honestly, it's not just about inconvenience; it's actually money loss.
True.
You spend so many more man hours dealing with stuff, and how are you trying to tackle this?
The answer is supply node. No, seriously, I'm saying the day I got a call from Abhishek and I spoke to him, it was just he was introducing the product briefly. It was the way he was explaining it. It was exactly like an email I had written a year before to a couple of ERP guys that can someone help me develop this for me, because I was facing these challenges on a daily basis, running 7-8 outlets then and now 10-12 outlets, and they were like, "Bilkul kar denge, sir, and this is our cost." So it was such a massive initial
huge cost.
Huge cost. And the biggest challenges with ERP is that it may be a great product, but to implement it is where it fails, or it makes or break. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
So yes, I think supply node would be a great answer. Not because I'm on your webinar, but I think that's why we are we're together with you. I'm very excited about this product. Seriously, I'm very, very excited. Truly.
Amit, how does Chuk figure up on technology platforms?
Internally, all our systems are all linked up.
Okay.
So we are right now working on a portal where a customer can order directly on that portal. So the supplies will still be done by the customers, but by our distribution channel partners. But everything is linked up. So the next model, what I really want to do is if I can link it to their system. What Varun is talking about, the Walmart system, is wherein we can go and suggest that this is a stock out which is going to happen in so many days, and hence you need to place a PO onto us, or it's a self-generation of a PO which can be done.
That's what I mean. It's not necessarily you, but the system pops it up to both parties.
Absolutely. The only advantage we have is because we have a distribution channel model, and all our supplies are always through the distribution channel partners. So they're always carrying stocks for about a certain quantities. For them to supply to any customer becomes much easier. They don't have to be dependent on the factory. The factory is producing and shipping out to these partners, separately, and then they are taking care of their own regions.
So, I mean, you've been through a variety of roles, Amit. Do you think truthfully, a cost saving when you do these kind of, because these solutions do cost a certain amount of money initially to implement. I'm not talking about the license cost or the development cost. That's also given. But there is a manpower, man hours cost. There is a resistance to change. But does it actually help to drive down your costs as a vendor as well?
See, it depends on how you look at the cost. Okay. That's the most important parameter. One is if you're looking to be, so why India is a challenging market for all the software guys is because the labor the man hours are actually very cheap. The cost of having that manpower and having a guy paying 15,000 to run around and take care of the operational part of sourcing the right products is available. Hence, most of the people don't want to get into it. But when you go beyond a certain scale, like Varun is talking about, 10, 12 outlets, for him to manage each and every outlet sourcing part will start becoming a challenge. And he will end up spending a considerable high number of hours. And if you think his cost, then it is much higher. Then it actually makes sense for him to be focusing on the growth of the business.
So his cost, I'm very clear. I'm asking you as a vendor. His cost, yes, 100%,
Even for me as a vendor. See, if I know what is happening and if I can utilize technology and understanding the trend, I know also what to produce and when to produce and where to ensure it is available. Because I can produce something, but if it doesn't reach in time to, let's say, Varun, then the whole effort is wasted. Imagine the amount of energy which is wasting. But if I am technologically connected with Varun's usage, or the store APIs, that this has been issued, this is the only thing. I know Varun needs this product and I can inform my distribution channel partner to get it delivered. It's an auto PO system which gets delivered. So Varun doesn't have to be bothered about मेरे पास packaging है या नहीं है. He should be only looking at what matters most is the consumer experience. Is the food becoming right or not? See, when I talk to customers, one thing which I always say is, with Chuk, the preference is that you don't have to be bothered about packaging at all. Our product will perform. We will always deliver on time. That is the whole intention. That's the idea about the packaging as a vendor as well. That you don't have to be worried about your non-core activity.
Tell me, Amit, during COVID, and this brings me back to one of my other questions. Were you supporting your customers? Were they supporting you? I'm sure payments have been stuck, normal credit cycles extended. Nothing very out of the way. It was something which happened for everybody.
That's true. See, that happened. There's no doubt about it. A lot of my channel partners' payments were stuck. A lot of restaurants closed down. They didn't pay up front. There are a lot of them who returned stocks because they were not able to pay in time. So they at least offered to take back the stocks. Initially, for the first few months, because we focused on dining, that challenge was there. But we have, I feel, as a brand, we have come up on that journey very fast, because we recalibrated ourselves to focusing on the right segments. Hospitals, for example, always needed dine-in products.
Of course.
Five-star needed dine-in. So we moved from, we stopped looking at dine-in as a QSR as the primary central point, and moved to the hospitals, which gave us a lot of business. So we could take care of our partners as well as the entire business.
Okay.
But
That's great.
yes, there are challenges which I think it's an inherent problem of the industry, but that's a smaller problem.
Varun,
Intentionally, sorry.
Varun, what's your feedback on this? And I'm not just talking about you as running KCCO. In the industry, did a lot of vendors support the business?
I think everybody supported each other.
Okay.
Other than a couple of vendors here and there, be it a lot of our vendors and even around vendors did support, and everybody understood. So yes, there was a lot of support. At least for me, for my brand, I can say that we were supported like over. There was too much of support. Like even now, they're like, no problem, we'll settle this. So even when the business is coming back to normal, the support has been tremendous. Maybe it's the trust that we had built over so many years with our vendors, but I cannot complain at all.
Which is very good, because honestly, you are at best, I would say, a 3 or a 4-year-old brand, assuming that it would have taken some time to start cracking it.
My brother has been running the brand. I'm saying he was running 1 or 2 outlets for last he started 17 years ago. So when I started working for Marriott, he started this little place in Raja Park in Jaipur. And 6 years ago, then when I joined him, we started to expand.
That's when you started.
I had a launch base already, so I just had to just fly. So
Kushang, what's your take on this? I mean, did the lockdown actually help to kind of help people recognize each other, good vendors to be recognized by consumers, and good customers being recognized by vendors?
Absolutely. I think, as Varun stated, I think my experience and my talking to the customers also has been, that people really understood the situation they're in. So, I mean, like, I heard this norm that when the lockdown stopped and restaurants were reopening, they were not talking about the old dues. They were talking about, let's start cash and carry, let's start business, because they want things back on track, right? And then as we move forward, we will actually take back whatever is pending on our books, right? So that approach was there from the vendor side and even from the restaurant side, right? Even us have kind of supported our set of customers during the COVID period. We gave a lot of free licenses to understand what the product is, how it can help. And absolutely, I agree that there is a filter which has happened during COVID on both sides, on restaurant side and on the supplier side. And I'm sure that it's for the good of the whole industry. So absolutely.
And a key question for you, Kushang, and this is not just because you have started Supply Note and that's your dream and aim, and I know we are doing development work, it's like a picture in progress right now. It's not a complete painting.
Yeah.
But do you really think the technology, I mean, I'm saying in real rupee value terms, to a CFO's satisfaction, does it help in reducing COGS?
Yeah, so I mean, like, first of all, Ajay, I just want to indicate that Supply Note was never a dream. It evolved, right? Okay. So I started as a advertising company. I very few people actually know this. So we were advertising on paper cups. That's why the name was Add Your Cup, advertise on your cup. And but then it evolved. It brought us closer to the problem which restaurants are facing. It brought us to the supply chain problem. And then when we were doing supplies ourselves as a seller, right, we understood the problem which a distributor is going through. Like, he is not receiving payment. Your previous question actually is linked here. And then what we understood, that why the restaurant is not paying. It's not that he has a cash problem. Sometimes there are issues on the supplier side as well. He's not delivering. He wants consistency. He wants the guy to be, there when it's required. So there are a lot of elements, mix and match, right? So that brought us to Supply Note, that the process needs to be solved, not just the discovery and the buying part, right? So so with supply note, we solve the process, and process takes care of the cost, right? I don't say that Varun will drastically improve his bottom line by 15% on day one. No, it will not happen that way. I am providing a mean through supply note through which you can digitize your processes on the back end. Just like you have discovered more customer through Zomato and Swiggy, I am giving you an option to improve your process at the back end, connect with your suppliers, whoever your current sets are, and then discover more suppliers, right? So that will help you in all the means possible. And even for the suppliers here, the suppliers cost of acquisition per customer reduces, as Amit was indicating that he has built a system inside Chuk in a digital manner, connected. I don't know if they're connected with their distributors, but then we provide that linkage as well. And then that particular linkage could be done through supply note platform. And the restaurant guys would not want to use 15 different platforms for ordering. And supply note becomes that layer where everything comes in and plugs and play. So if Varun wants to order from Hyperpure, from a Staple Plus, from Chuk directly, from EcoWare, anywhere, he has those options. And then it becomes an even play for every supplier, right? That's what a restaurateur wants, right? The inefficiency of finding a supplier, the inefficiency of not getting it on time, this is all process related, and that's what we are eliminating here with the use of technology.
Okay. And Amit, what kind of software or technology platform would you like, which would help you as a vendor reach out to more people, and not just necessarily, let's say, a couple of restaurants? There are far more channels. Like you yourself said, hospitals is another channel, of course, although it's F&B retail inside the hospital. But there could be other options. So what kind of software, or software is the wrong word, what kind of technology platform do you envision from a vendor's perspective?
See, the challenge is that what most of the softwares or the technology platforms which exist as of now, they connect only a buyer and a seller.
Okay.
They don't connect the brand versus with a requirement. So I will end up talking to a purchase guy who doesn't understand the value I bring on the table. So let's say if Kushang goes to a purchaser in an organization, finance guy, he may not be able to understand the brand value, which the purpose or the what benefit as an organization and everything as a complex ecosystem it will bring. So my challenge is that I would look for getting a part of it wherein I can interact with the people who understand the overall ecosystem, rather than looking at only a cost perspective or only a product perspective. I have my interactions with customers and the brands, the purchase managers. Most of the times it is always concentrated on marketing ने मुझे ऐसा बोला है तो मुझे ऐसे ही चाहिए. Now he doesn't know मुझे ऐसा क्यों चाहिए या marketing को ऐसा क्यों चाहिए. That's the biggest difference in terms of the communication which is happening, because he is looking for something as ऐसा दिखना चाहिए. He doesn't understand the product at all. So he is, at the end of the day.
May I put some words in your mouth? Are you also looking at a technology platform which Kushang, and this is probably a great insight for you, has a module which the actual user in the company, Amit just used the word marketing. Should there be a module over there as well, so that the initiator starts over there? Is that what you're saying, Amit?
Yeah, basically
Something like that?
interaction with the person who is actually looking for something.
Yeah.
The purchase manager may not be the right person. The brand, when you're looking for मेरे को एक glass चाहिए, when you're talking about like I want a cup, but what are you looking to solve? The problem which you're looking to solve will define what kind of cup. He may not understand that I need a 150 GSM or a 200 GSM, but if he can tell you then what temperature I'm looking to solve, I am looking for something 150 degrees which it can sustain. Obviously the answer is it has to be a rippled cup, it has to be a much bigger strength than paper. But if he starts looking for a cup, that doesn't solve the problem. So the platform which can bring it together is something which is needed, and that will drive the platform as well as the answers to the most of the restaurants.
So Varun, this is an interesting dimension. Would you like to add something to this?
It's an insight for me as well, and I completely agree to what Kushang and Amit said.
Okay. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, the purchase manager, but you come from a hotel background, Varun. This has always been, I have been in hotels for the first about 10 years of my career. And I distinctly remember in those days, the bigger vendors would come and meet the chef, would come and meet the banquet manager along with the purchase guy, to understand what do you want for the event, what do you want for your crockery, why do you want it, what colors do you want it in, all of that stuff.
But Ajay, I believe when it comes to hotels have a set system in place, and the purchase manager knows that without the chef giving in approval, it's not going to go ahead, and the chef is going to come to his office and blast him. So so he will better tag along with the supplier, and but in restaurants or in we are still an unorganized sector overall. There are in bigger cities there are certain brands that are now evolving or developing or going ahead in a structured way, but all in all it is still a very unorganized sector. So
absolutely.
So what happens is that in a hotel, even a purchase manager is very experienced. In our case, we may not even have a purchase manager. We may have a manager or an outlet guy or someone or an admin guy who's just also looking into purchase. So maybe he's like let's take our example. If somebody from supply or from Abhishek from Supply Note would have called, let's say my accounts team, they would have been, sir, batate hain aapko, and they would have just let it go. I was so fortunate that call landed on my mobile and
on your phone.
From there. So hotels is a different story because they just have a better system in place, and chefs are horrifying objects sometimes for the purchase guys, so they'll not take
no, actually, Varun, see, that's again, they are looking at the brand promise over everything else. It's a consumer experience. Now, you go to Bukhara, an ITC, or even any hotel, any reputed hotel, there the chef has the final say because he will decide what is it going to be, not a purchasing manager.
Yes.
So that's something which we need to change, because for example, when you are looking at a solution, you look at it multiple angles on what it can drive. Cost is one of the parameters, can't be ignored, but it is not the only parameter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really agree.
I think the problem with F&B retail, honestly, Amit, as Varun very rightly pointed out, I have seen it so many times in various assignments that I've handled, that F&B retail, the QSR part of it needs a lot of the margins don't appear till you are a little big. 10 outlets is not a chain. 10 outlets is a promise that I would like to be a chain. I'm staking a claim. 10 can go back to zero very fast. It takes 3 months. True. It's when you cross the 20, 25 threshold and you've been around for 2.5, 3 years, then I would say that you are now in the beginning throes of a chain. That's when you have the luxuries of keeping the purchase guys and stuff like that. Before that, it just doesn't work out because the Indian market is very large, but it's very, very price sensitive. When you talked about 100 rupee 3 CP, container selling price, I deliberately pointed out it's low, but in truth, I know that is the segment which is selling the most, and it doesn't make money. It doesn't make money. That's the problem. Anyways, so this has been really interesting. Kushang, you have one new module to ask your guys to develop where the user has to come back.
We have it in construct. I mean, like we are see. I mean, like the beautiful part here is that as we are connecting the suppliers and the restaurants and various levels, purchase manager, chef, owner, everybody has a module here. So we are able to identify who is managing what. Right. So if you're a supplier and are using on the other hand, we can actually redirect you to the right guy. Amit, you want to talk to the chef, I can get you connected. That's not a problem.
Fantastic. I think that's what we all need. More connectivity, more openness. And finally, somehow to drive down the cost of the package. That 2 rupees, Amit, if it becomes 1, you'll sell millions more. Yeah. I don't know how I'm talking about economies of scale for you as well. Honestly.
Yeah, future, thinking of future.
And I'm not just talking about Chuk, I'm talking about every kind of material which is apart, other than the food which goes into the experience. I'm talking about crockery, cutlery, curtains, blinds. It just keeps, it's a never-ending cycle in a casual dining or a QSR something or the other keeps adding to your cogs. So you really get worried. That's where it comes from actually. Packaging more or less is kind of, sorted in the sense that there are no two thoughts on that. You have to do a great packaging today. But it's the overall cogs experience which has to kind of, come together to make a business case. That's all.
No, Ajay, see, there is one primary
Sure.
difference. If you're looking at cogs as just the cogs, and not looking at as what is the brand promise which you are looking to deliver, what is the experience you are looking to deliver. When you look at only a cogs, then you know कि अच्छा 30% मेरा cogs है तो मेरा 3 गुना 3.5 गुना का price है, selling price.
No, that doesn't work.
That doesn't work. That's what I'm saying. So your experience now, if you go to, let's say, if you look at Noshi, Varun Tuli's Noshi, the amount of money which they spent on packaging is directly proportional to the experience which they are looking to draw from the customer.
Agreed.
I haven't seen anybody, they are the only ones who charge 10% of your bill of the invoice value as the packaging charge. But when you look at the packaging and the experience it delivers, it is outstanding. I think it also sets up how the food is going to taste. So even if there is a little bit here and there in the food, it gets hidden away because you're already awed by the packaging experience which has come to you.
Okay.
Right. So you can actually charge a premium and still deliver volumes because the what volumes Noshi does in terms of even the most premium brand is way higher than most of the other brands who try to play in the space which is much bigger.
Lower segment, yes.
Lower segment. But the point is, anybody who's buying from Noshi keeps on buying from them. So they are only growing every month on month. So their sales don't go down because the quality and the food and the experience, overall experience hasn't changed. And they are the most expensive, I think, in terms of the sushi experience delivery per se.
No, they've definitely made a name for themselves in Delhi. I mean, that is, and they have become a benchmark for packaging 100%.
Even
food,
for pot.
Yeah, I'm not talking about food right now because see, food is a very subjective kind of thing. There are a lot of people who will say yes, no. But packaging, I am sure, Noshi, without a doubt, one can say that they've kind of become a benchmark for the standard of packaging that they use. No doubt about that.
Yeah. So I'm saying with the packaging, they've only increased their business.
Of course.
Even their cost is high. I'm saying even if you say that the food is the same, but overall experience, it has added to the experience which they're looking at. Even for the new brands which is coming, VT hai, Pot hai. If you look at Kabutar, which is launched in Gurgaon, you look Harangat Bedi's Parat. All of these guys have spent money on packaging because they realized packaging itself can deliver lead to a great presentation and can deliver a lot of value to the customer who would be ready to pay. That's the whole idea overall.
So great, guys. Thank you so much. It's been a very insightful afternoon. And yes, I'll just sum up some of the points. COVID has helped us, to separate out good vendors from bad vendors, good customers from bad customers. It's been a very big learning on both sides. Tech is obviously the way forward, and a system which connects restaurant owners or restaurant businesses to vendors, which is kind of like an open highway. Everybody can get off, get on, pay their way through it, of course. And it should save number of working hours. That's the best way of saving cogs. And yes, if we save cogs, we make money. And that's what everybody is in business for finally, whether it's a vendor producing stuff or whether it's a restaurant selling stuff. So thank you again, all of you, for being here with us. And we look forward to having you on another series soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ajay.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks,
Bye.
Susan.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Akansha.